All right, today we're going to break down some absolutely brilliant insights on leadership from a true master of the game, Professor Mervyn King. We're talking about the architecture of governance, and trust me, it's a powerful lesson on what it really means to lead.
So let's just dive right in with a question that gets to the very heart of the matter. According to Professor King, every single leader faces this one fundamental choice, and it's all wrapped up in this single question.
Here it is, the central challenge. Are you a mindless leader? Just going through the motions, ticking the compliance boxes? Or are you a mindful leader, someone who applies their own original thinking to create real, actual value? As he puts it, with mindlessness, you're just ticking a box, but you haven't really applied your mind. Just take a second and think about it. Where do you fall on that spectrum?
Okay, so what does it actually take to be a mindful leader? Well, it all starts with understanding the true duty of a director, or really any leader. And believe me, it is so much more than just showing up to meetings. You have to hear this definition. According to Professor King, a company is an incapacitated legal fiction. Whoa, think about that. It's not a person. It has no heart, no mind, and no conscience of its own. It's totally dependent on its leaders to give it life and a moral compass. That's a huge responsibility, isn't it? And that's exactly where you come in. If the company is this abstract thing, then its directors, its leaders have to be its conscience. He talks about a guardianship obligation. See, you're not just a manager running the numbers, you are its guardian, and you're tasked with protecting its long-term health. And this whole idea of guardianship, it has completely upended how we think about the purpose of business. It's a massive shift from the old way of doing things to the new. Let's really dig into what that looks like.
So, in the 20th century, it was all about one thing: shareholder primacy, profit at any cost. But as Professor King points out, that model it was not in the best long-term interests of humanity. Today, the game has totally changed. It is all about creating sustainable value.
So what does sustainable value actually look like? Well, a mindful leader gets that their business doesn't exist in a bubble. It's right there at the intersection of these three huge pillars: the economy, society, and the environment. And everything you do, how you run your business, it impacts all three. Let's make this really concrete. When Professor King was the chair of a major textile group, he saw this number and it just floored him. 1,780 liters. That's how much water it took to make the fabric for a single pair of jeans. I mean, can you believe that? That is the definition of an unsustainable model. But here's what a mindful leader does. They don't just throw their hands up and say, well, that's the cost of business. No way. He flew to Zurich and told his machine suppliers, you have got to develop a machine that uses less water. Then he went to his cotton suppliers and pushed them to switch to drip irrigation. And the result? He proved that good business and sustainability can and absolutely should go hand in hand. Now, this kind of innovative, original thinking, it led him to another conclusion that was pretty radical at the time, and frankly, still is for some. And it's all about who you have in the boardroom. So get this, 30 years ago, a journalist asks him why he just appointed 3 women to senior executive roles. His reply was short, provocative, and right to the point. Naturally, it made headlines, but behind that little soundbite was an incredibly powerful business case. So, what was that business case? Well, he found that having women on a board fundamentally changes the dynamic, for the better. In his experience, he says, straight up, the males on the board behave better. But it's more than that. He also points to evidence that women are often more curious and adapt to change more quickly, 2 skills that are just non-negotiable for a modern leader. And the impact on the culture, it's huge. And let's be crystal clear. This isn't about taking a diversity box. It is about driving performance. He's absolutely adamant that when women join a board, that whole old boys club falls away completely. And that leads to much better, more robust decisions. So we've hit on mindfulness, sustainability, diversity, all incredibly important. But none of it matters, not one bit, if it's not built on a foundation of just unwavering integrity. And Professor King, he does not mince words here. Showing up to a meeting unprepared, that's not just lazy. He actually calls it almost like a fraud. Why? Because you're failing in your most basic duty as a guardian, which is to add value. And it's not just the big obvious stuff.
He insists that even those seemingly minor ethical lapses, what he calls intellectually dishonest behavior, have to be shut down immediately. The message has to be sent loud and clear that that kind of behavior will just not be accepted. That is how you protect the health and the culture of your entire organization.
And that brings us right back to where we started, with a question for you. Professor King's core lesson is this: leadership isn't just about being in charge, it's about taking care of those in your charge. The company, your team, that project, it's in your hands now. It's relying on your conscience. So, what kind of guardian will you be?